Hello all, and welcome to Explained with Don. Those who know me know that I am not a big fan of electric cars. Now don't get me wrong, I still think they're not as bad for the environment as gas cars, but there's so many things wrong with them, and I think people just hype them up way too much. So, today I will be talking about why I do not like electric cars. This is going to be a two-parter video. The second part will come up next week. So today we'll just be talking strictly about why I don't like electric cars, and next week we'll be talking about better alternatives and comparing it more to hydrogen. There's one fairly obvious reason of why I don't like electric cars. Now this reason does not apply to all electric cars, but it applies to a very specific and popular form of electric cars. That would be Teslas. Why do I not like Teslas? Well, there's a lot of reasons, but for starters, Elon Musk is an idiot. Do I need to explain any further? I don't think I do, so we'll just move past that and keep going. Another reason I am not a fan of electric cars is that the batteries are awful, and this is a reason that gets talked about quite a bit. The batteries in electric cars are awful for the environment. For starters, they're coming from rare earth minerals, all batteries do, which takes quite a bit of mining, and mining is not good for the environment whatsoever. I'm sure you all know that quite well. But not only that, but extracting some of those specific materials is not great for the environment as a whole, and having them just laying around. That is not good for the environment either. So not only is the mining process bad, but those specific minerals are bad. And not only that, but electric car batteries do not last forever. No battery lasts forever. And people are buying more and more electric cars now. So that means there's more and more electric car batteries. And while sure, they can be recycled, it is not cost effective to do so, and very difficult. It still pollutes a lot, just trying to recycle them. So, in that case, it's not that great. And it gets worse, because sometimes they don't even get recycled. Sometimes they just get thrown away, which is just an environmental disaster. With all those electric car batteries just sitting around, this is not good. Mining's getting worse. And the fact that after their usage, the batteries are just sitting around, this is not good for the environment. Not only that, but the mining is bad. As I explained, bad for the environment. Wherever you mine, you could mine next door to me, and that would be bad for the environment. But it's worse because a lot of these minerals come from very poor countries. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is in kind of the center of Africa, you can look it up, is a good example of a country that has a lot of rare minerals like this, and rare elements. But it is a very poor country, which means that companies can come in with really cheap labor, really poor working conditions, and get these people to mine these materials, and then export them, sell them to whichever company's making an electric car, and bam! The company that's making the electric car, be it Tesla, be it Ford, be it GMC, be it whoever it is, then that company just got some pretty darn cheap materials for their batteries. Why is that? Because the employees are in terrible conditions, being paid terribly. But they just turn a blind eye, because those companies are not the specific ones doing it. It's different companies that are mining and sometimes even making the batteries. So by the time it gets to the company themselves, they don't really care how it got there. They just know that they got batteries at a good, cheap price. Now, like I said, that reason has been talked about quite a bit. A lot of you have probably heard about electric car batteries and all of the problems with it, and problems with mining, and problems a lot along the way. But there's another problem I would like to bring up, one that does not get talked about enough, and yet it's a very, very big issue. And it makes me question the intelligence of humanity as a whole. So a lot of people are sitting here going and saying, okay, now we all know gas cars are not good for the environment. Plain and simple. They're not good for the environment. The whole process is not good for the environment. Gasoline comes from what? oil. Oil is not good for the environment. So, this whole thing is not good for the environment. In fact, it's very, very bad for the environment as a whole. It's pretty obvious. Obviously, you know that. But, and now this is not necessarily the case everywhere. I know it's not the case where I live in BC, but it's still the case in a lot of places where people are bragging about how good they are to the environment with their electric cars. Where do you think your electricity comes from? Now, don't get me wrong, there are alternatives. Some people use hydropower. Some places use wind power. Some people even use solar power. But a lot of places, a heck of a lot of places, still use coal, natural gas, and oil to power their homes and to power their entire electrical grid. And what do your electric cars plug into? That electrical grid. So in short, it is no better in any of those places. It is no better when you have an electric car, because all you're doing is using more electricity, which brings up the demand, which causes them to create more electricity, which means that they're still polluting just as much despite your supposedly healthy for the environment electric car. Plus, it's even worse for the environment overall than a gas car would be because of the fact that the batteries also pollute at the same time. Now, there are plenty of other reasons people talk about not liking electric cars. There are just small little things, like it takes way longer than anything else would to charge, which is a big issue for a lot of people, and I can see that. I don't want to be sitting at the gas station. I can't drive, so I'm speaking in hypotheticals here, but I wouldn't want to be sitting at the gas station waiting for 30, 40 minutes for my car to charge all the way, especially if I'm going somewhere big. But even if I'm just in town or around, if I'm out for the entire day, sometimes your car will last, but not in the cold. Then the battery level drops immediately quite a lot. It does not work the same. Now, there are plenty of other cons. I mean, Teslas are just completely made of crap. They're not built well as cars, but as much as I'd love to spend this entire time talking about the actual build of the cars, this is not a Cars YouTube channel, and sadly this video is getting a bit to the length I was thinking it would. So, I'm going to cap it off there. But all in all, electric cars are not as good for the environment as people tend to think. Now sure, in plenty of scenarios, they can be better for the environment than gas cars, but there are plenty of cons as well. Now, I'll be back next week with the next part of this video, which is, like I said, comparing more alternatives and everything else. But for now, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys again soon.